All right, everybody. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to OneObjective tonight. Guys, we've got a really, really good show lined up for you. I know I say that every time, but I always feel like we do. I feel like every time we got a good show lined up. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But we got two big names in the Bass Elite Series. One of them, most of you already know, Brandon Pollinick. He's made a great career as a bass fisherman and made a big name for himself in the Elite Series. Went over to MLF, the Bass Pro Tour, for a year, and then come back and is making a staple in the sport again. So, but I've always followed Brandon Palaniuk through YouTube. If you haven't followed him on YouTube, you need to go and follow him on YouTube because he's got a really great series that he does. Him and his girlfriend and Kyle, they travel together as a team and they just show everything. It's just a really good series. So make sure you go check that out. Levesey, he does really well in the opens. He's had a couple of great events in the Bassmaster Elite Series. But you got to think there's a lot of guys that came into the Elite Series in the last 2 years that a lot of us just don't know, but they're going to make a name for themselves. Out there is the next Kevin Van Dam, I'm sure. So anyways, it's nice talking to some of these new guys that are on the tour and learning who they are because you're gonna learn more about them. But anyways, Lee ended up winning on the Chickamauga tournament last weekend on a very stingy event. And if you didn't watch any of the Bass Live stuff, you need to go back and check on Facebook and watch all their highlights on it because it was awesome. Some awesome frog blow-ups. I mean, it was a really cool event to watch. And just, I don't know, I learned a whole lot on that just watching them because I'm not a great frog fisherman, I'll tell you that right now. And learning things that they did and all that, I learned a lot through that. So, but like I say, if you don't ever get the time to go do a ride-along with them like they do in the events, the live is perfect because, I mean, you're getting to see right there what you're going to see when you're doing the ride-along. So, but anyways, before we get into those, I want to mention one thing. I mentioned in my live thing just a little bit ago on Facebook. I have been down with a massive lower back issue. Been into bed for a little over a week. Messed it up last Saturday. And I have been struggling. This is the last 2 days actually been able to sit up and do something. So to be able, if you see me moving around and jolting around and all that, I'm just trying to get comfortable. So this is the longest I've set up since I've had this back issue. So, but anyways, before we get into getting these guys on, I want to thank all our sponsors. We've got some really phenomenal sponsors, guys. I mean, they've been with us through thick and thin. We've been with them through thick and thin, when there's been issues. And it's just great company. So if you can, make sure they're scrolling through right now. But I just want to name them off. Native, Watercraft, Bonafide, Biono Power, Yak Attack, Falcon Rods, Missile Baits, Power Pole, and also one that we're not doing a giveaway tonight. I wasn't able to get with Ron tonight. Just mine wasn't there. But with RBT Custom Baits, he does a bait packet all the time. So with a giveaway for us. So Ron, I really appreciate that. If you're listening, we'll get with him on our next show and try to do a giveaway with that. So, but I'd like to thank everybody's joining in right now. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to watch us tonight. If you don't mind, please hit the share button, hit the like button. We want to get this out there and just get more people in here so we can ask a lot of questions, with these pros and about different baits and techniques, especially during the fall time and all that, or how they practice or whatever. Just make sure you get him in there. Chris, he's watching the boards there. He can see all the questions coming in. But Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing all right. How about you?
Not too bad. You have a good weekend? Just kind of laid around?
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Just normal stuff.
Yeah. You didn't do no Jeep things. You're a Jeep guy.
No, I didn't do no Jeep stuff.
Didn't do no Jeep stuff yet.
Jeep stuff.
I like your new Jeep, though, by the way.
I appreciate
it. Yeah, Chris. Well, you had a Jeep, but like you got the Jeep. What's a Wrangler now? Yeah. So yeah. So you're officially the Jeep guy.
It isn't new.
Yeah. New to you.
I'm not paying $50,000 for a Jeep.
Yeah. OneObjective ain't making that kind of money yet, is it? But no. It's been a crazy 2 weeks here. I mean, with OneObjective, with getting products out. I want to thank everybody that has bought a lot of the new products that come out. All their customers, for one, but I'm gonna tell you what, that cup caddy, it is phenomenal how well that's done and how many people. I didn't think, I thought it was a pretty cool product. Every time you come out with a product, you think, man, this is gonna be a cool product. But I didn't realize how well it would do.
It took off. Huh?
It took off, man. It done really well.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. We've picked up dealers now,
You've already got the cups, so why not just make something else to go on the cup holder?
Yeah. So, you can still put your drink in there, but you can also hang your pliers off the side of it or your baits or whatever. It's just a well thought out little product there. Simple, ain't nothing to it. Ain't adding hardly any weight. It's light as a feather.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of great reviews back with it with people talking about it. They loved it, so.
You can hang another cup holder off of it.
Yeah. You can stack them up, man. You can have a bunch of cup holders.
Pyramid.
I've seen guys hanging like, what was it? One guy had like the what's it, thing you can put in the water and puts off a frequency. I can't think of the name of it right now, but the hydrowave. Guy had a hydrowave thing mounted on the side, with like a little ram mount ball or whatever, It was pretty cool. Like just seeing what people do with them, different ideas and stuff. So that was pretty cool. But first, before we get Lee on, there's a couple things I want to talk about real quick. First, the Big Bass Tour was on Smithmount Lake this weekend, and Randy Arthur won that one with a 7.39 largemouth. It was a lot of 4-pounders. A lot of 4-pounders.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were saying they caught a lot of fish in the 2 to 3 pound range all day long, just trying to get that other bite, that big bite. I've seen several big fish that was brought in. It was all I wasn't able to go, but I was just kind of keeping up with it. The Basscast, he did a lot of stuff with it with Brian and all of them, so I was just kind of keeping up with him and watching it all go down. It was pretty cool. So also Cody Bird won the Bassmaster Central Open on Neely Henry. We'll be talking about that a little bit too with Lee Levesey and Brandon Pollinick. They both fished that Open in the tournament as well. But also to a good friend of the show, Melinda Hayes, first ever female to win the BFL Regional Co-Angler Championship event. She's a heck of a fisherman, and I've been following her for years when she was with, certain other companies, and she was with Costa Del Mare. She was with Carhartt. She was with all these companies, but she was able to go around and fish these events and stuff. But she had a career change, and she's fishing even more now. And now she's going to the BFL All-American. So as a co-angler. So, that's something she's been wanting to do, wanting to qualify for. Whoops. Oh, wow. She's been wanting to qualify for and finally made it. And to be, a female, not knocking that. I'm just saying it's not that many females in it, And I feel bad because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of coverage out there. We shared a post. So if you guys see it on there, share it. Let's give Melinda all the exposure she deserves on that. Because, winning co-angler anyways in those events is tough. So congratulations to her. But she also won the BFL Archie Division title. So she's like the Angler of the Year and the co-angler side of that too. So congratulations to you, Melinda. That's, you deserve it. You fished hard. Congratulations to you. So, Chris, what time we got right now?
8:09.
8:09. Let's go ahead and call Lee.
All right,
get him on the show. Let's listen to some of that Skype music. Get down to that.
Beautiful Skype music.
I'm going to get me a sip of drink here. Hopefully he's on. Hey, Lee, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on?
Oh, not too much, man. Chris is going to get you set up here. He's just kind of building up the scene for the show. But what's going on, man? I know you've had a busy couple weeks, man. Have you finally made it home, or what's going on?
Yes, I got home last night.
Did you take that trophy in right away? Or did you just leave it buckled up?
Oh, yes.
I don't blame you one bit, man. I like following along. You had that thing buckled up. She wasn't going nowhere.
Ain't no doubt about that.
And Chris, did you able to get everything built up there? Okay. But yeah, man, congratulations to you on winning.
Turn his camera on.
I think Chris said you need to turn your camera on. Just hit the button down there in the bottom.
Should be on. There we go.
There we go.
All right, there we go. Yep. But congratulations to you on winning a very tough event on Lake Chickamauga. I know that lake wasn't showing out like it should to be the second best bass lake in the United States.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty tough.
I mean, to be on a frog bite like you were on. Let's kind of go into it a little bit and talk about your practice going into that, because I know a lot of guys that I was following saying they were struggling even finding fish in practice. And then what y'all had a limit? It had to be at least 15 inches long, right?
Yeah, 15 inches minimum was our deal there, and smallmouth and meanmouth had to be 18 inches.
So I mean, you can catch 14 inches all day long there. What it look like? A lot of guys were catching 14s, but just struggling to get that 15 inch and bigger.
Yeah, it was tough for sure on the size deal, but man, it was just a special little event for me. It ended up working out good for me.
Well, let's talk about your practice a little bit. I mean, that magical spot that you had there, when you was catching some big fish on a frog, was that something you found during practice, or is that something you just kind of picked up as the tournament went on?
Honestly, I didn't know how good the frog bite was until the tournament. Like I'd had a pretty good amount of bites on the frog in practice, but I was mainly going to fish bluffs. To be honest, I caught 3 of my keepers the first day on bluffs, actually, but the frog bite developed for me during the tournament. You know, the first afternoon after I had caught those 3 on bluffs, I went out there and I caught 2 good ones on a frog, and I missed probably 7 in 1 or 2 little mats. So the second day I started on a bluff, didn't get bit, and I went straight to that mat where I had all those bites, and it was freezing cold that morning. It was the coldest morning we had. There was frost everywhere. I said, there's no way they're going to eat this frog this early, you know. And sure enough, the first cast I had one miss it like 7 times and threw back in there and caught him. And I said, oh, I'm never putting it down again. That's when it changed for me, and it clicked for me that I could probably win on a frog for sure. And then that's when it all changed for me, was that second morning.
Yeah. Now, the frog, that's a technique that it's kind of like a jig, right? In most cases, you're looking for 5 big bites.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I have a lot of history, you know, this time of year fishing championships in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and we frog a lot when the vegetation's right. And you're looking for, you know, 5 to 9 bites a day and hope 4 or 5 of them eat it. You know, going to have bigger fish most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, for me, it's always been a struggle. I can get a couple bites, but I think I end up eventually just putting it down because, you know, like say, it's one of them baits, you got to keep it in your hand to make it work. You either live or die by it kind of deal, you know, and it's always a struggle for me. But, I mean, in the morning time when it was so cold, was you still getting those bites, or was it coming as the day got warmer?
Well, like the first day, like I said, you know, my game plan straight up was to fish bluffs until about 10 o'clock, and hopefully I had 2 or 3 keepers, and I frog all day. So the first day I left at like 11 o'clock when I got my 3rd one. But that second morning, man, I had a bunch of bites right off the bat, and I ended up catching everything the second morning by like 9 or 10 o'clock. I practiced all afternoon. I never set the hook. Found 2 or 3 more areas. I shook off 3 or 4, you know, 3+ pound fish, and went into the 3rd day, and they bit pretty decent again early. But, you know, that 3rd day, you never really know what's going to happen because that's cut day. So I caught them pretty good until about 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, I knew I was going to make the top 10 again. So I quit. Went looking again, went practicing again, and got to practice all 3 days. I practiced from 1 till close the first day, from 10 till close the second day, and from 1 to close the 3rd day. And then obviously I caught whatever I could the 4th day. But the crazy thing is I still had, you know, 9 or 10 fish that I'd found practicing that I never even got to go to and try to catch.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit too, because it looked like you were going deeper into that grass than everybody else was. I mean, was that some of the key to your success for the frog bite? You were getting deeper back in there.
For sure, right off the bat, I could tell a lot of the guys were staying on the outside edges on the really good-looking deep hydrilla mats. And man, like where I'm from, river Washita River, Texoma, Fork, Toledo Bend, Rayburn. This time of year, earlier in the summer it's different, but this time of year, man, they get as shallow as they can. I just had it open on Rayburn a couple weeks ago, and I did really good frogging all day long. I was frogging, I'm talking about 1,500 yards inside the pad fields, where people couldn't even think your boat could get. And it's just less pressured fish, but they're a lot easier to catch. They're in, a foot of water compared to 6 foot of water. They can eat a frog a lot easier. And the biggest key, I think, to my fish compared to those outside fish was on those outside edges, a lot of the fish were eating little bitty shad, and man, they would not eat the frog. They might blow up on it, but they'd miss it. My fish that were in like a foot of water, they were all eating brim. They're eating 3 to 4 inch brim, and they were keyed in on that frog. That was huge for me right there. Just eating, catching brim eaters, not shad eaters.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to your setup, is there a particular color you have that because if you look at frog colors, man, there's thousands of different frog colors out there, but I hear a lot of guys that, especially a lot of elite guys, you keep it simple. Do you just have a handful of colors, and what makes you kind of change that color when it comes to your frogs?
Yeah, I mainly threw a white frog and an orange frog the whole time. I just wanted them to see it was the biggest deal for me. There's so much bait in those mats right now at Chick that, there's just thousands of brim and shad and frogs, and I want them to see my bait and either react to it and eat it or don't even think about it. It's clear water, but it's not a big deal because the mats are so thick, So, I kept it simple. I threw a white scum frog and another frog that was orange the whole time, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, is that when you go from different lakes all across the United States area? Is that how you keep it too? As simple like that, or do you have an array of colors for everything?
Man, I've got everything, but I keep it pretty simple. I do white, black, brown. If I have some really clear water and some little bit more sparse cover, I'll throw a brown one a lot. But white, black, brown, and then either orange like the one I threw at Chick or chartreuse. I throw a chartreuse frog a bunch too.
Yeah, that's something I never really. Most of the time, when I buy frogs, they're either white, black, or they're that frog color. With the green on top and what Dean Rojas always called Kermit or whatever. That's always my colors I throw on that. But and of course braid. I know you're using braid, but what's your rod and reel setup for that?
Yeah, I'm using a 65-pound braid, a high-speed reel. I was throwing like a 7-to-1 gear ratio, and a Halo KS2 Elite 7.9 extra heavy was so huge for me. It really was. And I tried a couple other rods mixed in because I was throwing a couple other baits too. You didn't see it a lot the third and fourth day, but I was throwing a Hog Farmer hybrid head a lot with a swim bait on it on the outside edge on those fish that wouldn't eat the frog. And you saw me if they show. I don't know if they showed it. I hadn't watched live, but I picked it up a couple of times on the fourth day and got bit the first cast with it. I just didn't want to hook them with it. I wanted to hook them with a frog. But
yeah.
The KS2 Elite 7.9 extra heavy was so key for me pulling the fish out of the mats. Man, I lost one fish in 4 days, and that's all about that rod. I tried a little bit, just a power down rod, and man, you would get dominated in there. If they turned their head for 1 second, you wouldn't get them in. So that Halo was huge for me, just having that big, long, stiff rod with a little bit of tip.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that you do to your frogs? And I see guys, they trim them. They'll bend the hooks a bit. Is there anything that you do to your frogs to help with your hookup ratio?
I always trim really short. I don't even know what the skirt's for. I don't want them to have anything to miss, besides the hook. I trim my frogs, every one of them, every application, way down short. But the deal there was the mats. The mats were really thick, especially the ones I was fishing. I was really fishing double mats. I was fishing a mat of hydrilla with little bitty isolated mats of algae on top of the hydrilla. And I was weighting my frog with 2 8-ounce tungsten cylindrical weights and putting them both in there. They make a little rattle hitting together, but that just keeps that frog bogged down in that mat. So the fish can see them, first of all. And second of all, when they hit it, they don't blow it out of the mat. It stays down in that mat a little bit. And that was huge for me, having those two 1/8-ounce tungsten weights in there. And that's what I do, trim the frog, put the tungsten in there, and keep it on a big rod, high-speed reel, and big braid.
Wow. I never thought about putting weights in there like that. That's a pretty good idea. I'm not a good frog fisherman whatsoever. I can tell you that now. But when I do go out there and try it, my hookup ratios ain't as good as like other guys I see catching them, So that's why I was wondering, what do you guys do different, And it could be that I don't trim my skirts up enough on them, but and they're just hitting the back end of it. But let's talk a little bit about Neely Henry. You just fished that, finished 24th there. But I'm looking at your, starting out this year. Let's start out with this year, anyways. Before we get to Neely Henry, you got 8th place finish at the Bassmaster Classic. That's a good confidence builder going into the 2020 season before the crazy COVID stuff hit. But let's kind of talk about your Open Series because you're third in points right now.
Yeah, it's been a good year in the Open, man. I wish I would have had 1 day of practice at Neely would have helped me. And I practiced, don't get me wrong, but. And I was so out of it from the win at Chickamauga. 2 or 3 days, just driven, and the phone just kept ringing. It was pointless for me to be out there. But I wish I'd have just had a little bit more knowledge of where to run around and duplicate some things. But it was just, I picked an area and just grinded the first day, ended up in the top 10 or 12 wherever I was. But I kind of felt like I'd caught them all in there, and sure enough, I went in there, and I only caught one by like 10 o'clock the second day, and I bailed out. I did the right thing. I went down the lake and just went fishing, fished for an hour or two, and then just pulled up in a pocket, and nobody was in it, and there's a bunch of mats, and they're real shallow mats, and I picked out a big halo flipping stick and a net bait dagger, and my first punch in this mat, I caught a keeper, and then boom, 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 boom. I caught 4 more keepers and called everything out I had, and in like 30 minutes, and finished up 24th and came back to Texas. So I can't be mad at that. And the last tournament's going to come down to the wire to see who wins AOI in the Central Division. It's Jason Christie, Daryl Gleason, myself, and a couple of guys right behind me. So it should be interesting for sure.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a grind. You got a couple of good names in there, some really good sticks there that can really put them in a boat. So like say, and you can too. So you're having a great season, and I know for the Elite Series, I was going down looking at results for you, Brandon Pollinick, and all of them because we're going to have him on after you. And it's been a grind for everybody. If you really look at it, it's been kind of a grind for most guys this year. If you look at their season and, several, everybody has a bad event, I get that. But, what has it been this year? What is it? Is it some of the anglers just not, did the break hurt everybody or is it just this season? This season's been kind of funky, with cold fronts and it's hot and then it's cool. And then, what's had the fishing off this year?
As far as people catching them in general, time of year, man, it's tougher in the fall and late summer like we're fishing right now. It'll get better when it gets cold, but we're just now to that climate change when those fish really start feeding good. And a lot of it's the pressure from COVID. A lot of people have been fishing on these lakes during their off time. So everybody across the world is seeing that right now.
Yeah.
Places have been getting flooded, and it's good for the fishing industry. Baits, rods, everything's selling really good because everybody's fishing, boats, motors. But me personally, man, just a couple days of bad decisions and a couple days of unfortunate mechanical issues cost me my season pretty much. I still have 2 shots to make the classic in Bass Fest, the winter goes, and my last Central. So
yeah.
For the start, like anybody would say, one of those 2, and then that's all I got. I'll take a win to trade for it for sure, but I still sure want to be next March.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, everybody wants to make the big stage there. I mean, that's kind of the goal the whole year. I mean, you think about AOI, but the whole goal is trying to make the classic. And I mean, like say you had a good finish, but then you're going to be coming down there. I mean, how far is the tournament, the classic, going to be away from you? Because it's not far, right? You're from Texas too, right?
It's actually a couple hours away from me, but I've won more money like Ray Roberts in my life. So yeah, when it came out, I think I cried a little bit, and it's going to hurt not being there, but that's how it goes, man. If I don't, got to show up at the expo and.
That's right.
And make the next one. There's nothing I can do about that, but try to make the next one.
Well, that's right. Well, I mean, like I say, you're in good standing there for the opens. You got a good shot there, and you got a couple. You got the Bass Fest you said coming up too, so you got a couple more chances there. It ain't ruled out, but and hopefully everything works out for you there. Let's kind of get in. We always do an in-depth segment. Let me see what time we got. Yeah. So we always do an in-depth segment, and right now with it being fall fishing, we always ask, your favorite lure, your favorite rod setup, all that. So, but what is now? I know fall fishing can be junk fishing for a lot of guys. I mean, it's 20 rods on a front deck and throwing everything, But what is your 3 main go-to baits once the water's flipped? They've already transitioned kind of in that fall pattern. What is your 3 main go-to baits?
Ooh, this time of year in the fall, man, I'm picking up a frog, first of all. Where I live, we always have some kind of vegetation or bushes in the water, whether it's hydrilla or pads or bushes. And I'm frogging, trying to catch a big one. This time of year, man, you can really catch some big ones frogging. I'm going to throw a scum frog, launch frog, the same thing I threw at Chickamauga, and try to catch a big one. Then I always have a net bait pocket crawl Texas rigged on my front deck this time of year. A lot of people do. I know that's really generic, but man, if I have a stump in front of me or a road bed or a willow bush or some rocks or a bridge, flipping that net bait pocket crawl over there and catching them. And the last thing's probably just a big topwater this time of year, big Zara spook or big shower blow, big pencil popper, something I can cover some water with, a big whopper plopper if I'm trying to just cover a lot of water, and just going down the bank, man. This time of year is a lot of just junk fishing, so I'm going to have those 3, something I can throw in some really thick cover, that scum frog, and then a net bait pocket crawl, something I can cast to a target or flip, and then that topwater, something I can just cover a lot of water and catch a lot of big fish on it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now, when is it too cold? What is the water temperature, or what is it about it when you say, all right, I can't throw a topwater no more? I mean, what is that magic number when you finally put that topwater down?
Where I live,
yeah, I guess where you live too, because it's a whole lot different down there.
Yeah, that's different everywhere you go. But where I live, man, that 50-degree mark, you get 40, not going to anywhere from that 52 up in the south where I'm from, they're going to eat it no matter what, man. They'll eat it on the coldest day you can imagine too. Those fish are active, man. They want to eat big gizzard shad where I'm from, and they're not scared. It's got to be really, really, really cold for those fish to get lethargic down here. Yeah.
Texas is a whole different. When it's snow on the ground and you're looking on Instagram or Facebook and you see guys down in Texas with hoodies on catching, big giant bass during the winter, it makes you so mad. You're like jealous. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, I mean we shoot duck winter wearing khaki shorts. So.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Well, I know we went down there for the Bassmasters Classic in March. I done brought jeans, and when we were down there in Houston, I brought jeans and flannel shirts, and I get down there and I'm like, man, I got to run to the store and get some shorts. Like I'm just in Virginia weather, man. We left here, it was 34 degrees. I get down there, it was 80 something. I'm like, holy moly. But
you never.
Yeah, let's go talk a little bit about you've been in what is this your second? Was this your second year in the Elite Tour?
Yes, sir. Second year on the Elites.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your season from last year to this year. Is there anything that you learned from last year that you made changes this year to, I mean, it's a different experience when you get out on the tour and fishing against all these guys and you're traveling all the time. Is there anything that you learned that you did different this year that you didn't do last year?
Man, you just got to roll with the punches is what I figured out, because, I mean, last year I couldn't do anything wrong. Everything was, top 10 or top 20, and I saw guys that struggled last year that couldn't do anything right. And then this year, man, it's been like the total opposite. I couldn't do anything right, and they've done everything right. And, I've had some of those guys that were on that side of the fence that just said, man, it's just how it goes. You got to roll with the punches sometimes and just keep grinding, and you'll pop out of it. You'll get out of that little funk, and that's the main thing I learned, man. You're going to have a lot of bad times, too, on the road, and you just got to keep grinding it out, man. That's the biggest deal for me, was just learning to dig yourself out of the hole, not getting negative, and just keep rolling.
Yeah, most definitely. That's just kind of like even the guys that are the weekend warriors. You go out and you have a couple bad events. You just keep practicing, and it's going to come around. Time on the water, it's going to come around. So when I went to Elite Series is over, what do you do? What are you doing aside after you come home and the tournament season's over? Do you have another job you do, or do you do guiding, or?
Yeah, I guide full-time on Lake Fork. That's what I've done my whole life, pretty much. I've been a full-time guide there for 7 years, and when I'm home, I'm guiding there or hunting. I like to hunt when I can, and I like to go to South Louisiana and go to Venice, catch a lot of big redfish and specks and flounder, and have a cold beer and relax with my buddies. But I'm guiding on Fork, and I'm playing with my dogs.
That's right. Always just taking it easy and still doing what you love, man. It's now, do you stay pretty booked on Fork? I mean, is your season pretty booked most of the time with that?
Yeah, man, I book out, Well, now with our schedules, I don't book out so far in advance, but, as soon as our schedule comes out, I book up for the year in a day or two. I
got you. That right there is the key. I've seen a lot more guys that fish a tour are starting to do guided trips on their off time. You know what I mean? Make a little extra money, keeps them on the water, and I think that's key. You're always staying on the water. And that's what I was going to ask you. But, I guess with COVID going on, did you do much guiding with that, or how was your state with that? Because I know some states are pretty funny about it.
Yeah, we stayed on the water, man. It was, to be honest, their business was a lot better for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But he was wanting to get out of the house and go fishing. I think it wasn't a problem here, and everybody got to get on the water for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Chris, we got any questions for Lee before we get going?
I believe somebody is wanting to know if he was putting 2 tungsten weights in his frogs.
Yes, 2 8-ounce tungstens in there. The real skinny, you can fit them right. Hook comes out of your frog. You can squeeze, get a little moisture. Will fit in there real easy.
Nice. Well, if we ain't got no more questions, we ain't got nothing else for them right now. Just people in there talking
with each other.
Just talking with each other. Okay. Well, Lee, I really appreciate you taking the time. Come on, man. I know you're ready just to kind of lay back. You done got home. You're ready to lay back and take it easy and get ready to get out there and get on the water here soon. Y'all going to be starting back up with the Elites again for the Big Bass Tour. I mean, not the Big Bass Tour, the Bass Fest and all that. So,
Right.
But I'll let you get going, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, and good luck to you the rest of this year. And like I say, hopefully you have that chance of making the Classic on your home water there.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. You have a good night.
All right.
Bye. All right. I don't know. Was it our service or was it his service?
It was his service.
Was it his service going in and out? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. For some of them that was watching and with the service going in and out like it was I was trying to figure out what was going on there. I was like, man, I don't know if it's us or not.
Yeah, it was his phone. The phone didn't work out great where he's at, but it's all right.
Yeah, it's no big deal, man. He's a really great guy. I've been watching a couple of interviews he did. He did with Stray Cast and all that, and really great guy. Loves the outdoors. but like most Texans are anyways. Most of them down there hunting, fishing. I just couldn't imagine because like a lot of them, they're ready to be in the tree stands right now.
Oh yeah.
And how the tour is, everything is going later in the fall. I know some of them guys are like, man, I'm just ready to get in the woods. They've done their fishing thing. They're ready to get in the woods. But I like seeing the elite tour going into the fall because most of the time it's early spring into the summer and then it's done.
Yeah.
I love seeing them going into the fall now because it's a whole different transition. Similar to the spring because they're going in, they're feeding up on a shad and they're getting ready to spawn. In the fall, they're going in and feeding up on a shad to get ready for the wintertime.
Yeah.
So, and they also have that little funk they go through before the fall transition or during that transition. So, and I think that's what killed Lake Chickamauga on that because, I mean, that is the second best lake in the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When Bassmaster does their 100 lakes or whatever, because I think Smith Mountain at one time was like, don't hold me to it, guys. I mean, you can fill in if you want, but I think Smith Mountain at one time was like 25th. And I don't know, it's 50th some now or 30th some or something. I can't remember what it is now, but which kind of surprised me. I don't know what they do all that judging off of. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know how that works either.
But if you look at the weights, man, it's always big weights. That wins a lot of tournaments around here most of the time on your bigger events. Your club stuff, you'll have 10 pounds, you'll have 14, 15, 16 pounds. And then with the F1 Tiger Bass coming in, I mean, Smith could be up there eventually, So, but yeah, it's really, really just crazy to see how Chickamauga went down. Now, not the KBF, the Bass Federation Kayak Nation Series. I think I said that right.
Yeah.
It's so big name. But anyways, BASS's Kayak Series is going to Lake Chickamauga next month. I think it's it's right before Thanksgiving. It's like the weekend right before Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
And me and James got plans to fish at. I'm just hoping my back straightens out here before.
Lee says VKT is running a fall winter trail supposedly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think they did something. Was it them or somebody did something a fall winter trail last year? I think, but I think we're gonna fish the.
You just get James to lift you up, put you down in your kayak.
That's what I might have to do, man. I might have to go get one of those like what's those little crane things you put on the back of the truck with the winch,
or just have him put you in a kayak and then just push me off, out in the water there.
I'm like, hey man, you gotta put my motor down. I can't get up there and get it.
You can't twist around and pull it, put it down there.
I don't know what to do about it.
It's in the front now, so you got to do it from the back.
Yeah, which I ain't got my rope mechanism all set up either to deploy it. So, but I don't know, man. I hope this is done by then, because you got to be signed up by the 7th.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna tell you what, I really like that about Bassmasters events. You got a cutoff day. So by the 7th, you got to be signed up. They already know what the payouts are going to be. They already know how many people are going to be in it.
Yeah.
It ain't none of this last minute stuff, you know what I mean? So that's one thing I did like about that is you got to be signed up by a certain date. I know KBF on their bigger events, I think some of them they got a certain date that they can sign up.
This lake's in Chattanooga, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee River.
Yeah, yep, Tennessee River something, and they're doing the fall drain down on it now. So
they do that on them TVA lakes. They draw them down in the winter.
Who I need to be watching is Catfish Dave because he fishes all them, so I'll know by then.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He fishes some areas you wouldn't want to put a kayak of.
No, but I can tell if they're doing the drawdown.
Yeah,
some of them.
I think they start about November.
Yeah,
because that one in Nashville, Percy Priest, they would start about October, November. They start drawing it down.
Yeah, is that the lake that you worked at on the dock hand there for a while? Yeah, when you was in diesel school.
Yeah, Percy Priest Lake.
Yeah, so I'm a little nervous about going because I'm like, man, current don't really bother me. You know what I mean? That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I know if we get a lot of wind with current, it becomes a nasty situation. And we know in the fall, and luckily early spring, you can't worry about that too much. But in the fall, you get a lot of wind. You can, depending on the storms and systems that come through. So I'm a little nervous about that. But and that's a big body of water, man. I was looking at pictures all over that place and boat ramps. There's boat ramps everywhere on that lake. But that. The grass, what gets me is if it's drawn down by then, the grass is going to be out of the water. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not going to be a factor. Lay downs, rock, stuff like that, could be a big factor. But I'm just hoping that the drawdown has, because I think they were talking about it on Bassmasters where they were starting a little bit of the drawdown where the lake was dropping. So I'm hoping by the time we get down there, it's done. You know what I mean? It's I mean, you're always gonna have current. You're still on a river.
Yeah.
But I just hope the drawdown is done, so we're not fighting. I'll be burning some batteries up on that dude, man. If you're fighting.
Gary says the wind takes you all over the water. That's very true, Gary.
Yeah. And I don't care what boat you got. You know, Bonafide caught all that crap about everything before they come out with the flex wings, which was a really great idea. That it didn't look like it, but it was. But I don't care what boat you're in. When you get a lot of wind, man, it takes that kayak everywhere. It takes the bass boat everywhere. You know.
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter what you're on. It's going to blow it all over.
Yeah,
unless you're in a battleship or something.
Yeah. So, but hey, before we get Brandon Pollinick on, we got a couple more minutes. We're going to get Brandon on. Do me a favor, guys. Go ahead and share this, like it, and also our YouTube. We had a goal. We wanted to hit 5,000 this year. Well, actually, our first goal was I think we wanted to hit. I think it was like 3,000 or 4,000, 3,000 or something like that. I can't remember what it was now. But anyways, we hit it, and then we said, well, let's set a new goal. And we'd like to hit 5,000. You know. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please take your time while we're waiting to get Brandon on. Take your time, go on over to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. We're going to be doing a contest soon for our YouTube.
Yeah, 4.32K right now according to YouTube.
4.32.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me pull that up real quick on our main thing. So yeah, we're at 4,320.
Karen says if you have spot lock on, win no problem. Very true.
Very true. Awesome setup. I love having the spot lock on that native, man, on the Titan, on the Bonafide, all that. I'm ready to put it on that. We tested it, you know, we made the mounts and went out there, but actually taking a full couple of days of fishing with it, you know, yeah. I'm ready to. I like to rig out another Bonafide. I'm gonna be doing a video here soon, which James. Oh, I didn't tell you this either. So James has got a new project.
Oh wow!
Down at the house right now. I'm not gonna spill no beans about it right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you after the show. But for the guys that are gonna be, that's what I'm talking about on YouTube. Is make sure you subscribe because we're gonna be doing a big build on a new project.
All right.
That we got. So I say James has got. He's already been doing some odd end things, shooting some videos. So we're going to be having a series of that coming up. And also, I'll be shooting the video, my Titan setup, and how I got it rigged out. I love that boat, man. It's a stable boat. But I'm going to tell you what, you need a trailer to haul that boat. Like, it's heavy. Not unless you want to load it in the back of your truck every time, and you got to take everything out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love that boat. But, I mean, man, it's a stable boat. But I've never taken it on the river, so I can't tell you how well it is on a river. Especially
you ain't drug it across the rocks up there at the bridge before the paper mill.
No. I won't. Yeah. I won't drag that boat. But, I mean, it's a super stable boat. I'm really impressed with it. You know, the only con that I have about that boat is just the amount of water you get in those boats. It's kind of crazy to me. You know what I mean?
What are your thoughts on the Bonafide Patriot?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I think that's pretty good. I think it's pretty cool.
I did see something which I agree with. The pads that have the padding that has white in it. Yeah, they'll be black by the end of the.
Oh, it's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be nasty.
Maybe they should have left the white out of the padding or something. Maybe.
Well, this is me, and you know I don't know. Bonafide might say something about it. I don't know, but I think the color scheme, that's all cool. You know, like if you just had a limited edition boat, like you wanted to have it at a trade show, that ain't gonna go out in the water much. You know what I mean? That's just their show boat.
Yeah.
But I think on a regular fishing boat, it should have had like just gray or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Deck mats. I know they're trying to do it different because it's limited edition. But I love how they did the Bonafide on the outside in the red. You know, and the logo stuff in the red. I like that a lot. But I don't know, the matting, it's cool looking. Yeah. It's just so like, it's like, wow. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's, but for guys that, you know, there's a lot of people that like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they won't mind it.
Yeah. It's like, say, just the white. I did look at that too.
It ain't a lot of white in it.
So no. But it might clean up easy too. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how well that rubber stuff cleans up too much. I never really wash my boat too much. So
yeah. I know the Woodsman I have, it comes pretty clean when I wash it.
Yeah, so. That's right. It's got that brown. It's got the
light brown.
Yeah. And I think the Tiki one, it's got that really light brown.
Yeah.
I think that cleans up pretty good. But I mean, white's a totally different monster.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. So I do get that. So, but yeah, I think it was a pretty cool boat. Yeah. And then they had it is funny, but it's not funny. They had the Slayer in their limited edition. Did you see that boat?
No, I haven't seen that one.
All right, the popsicle sticks that are like red, white, and blue?
Oh, the something bomb. I know what you're talking about there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a little popsicle, red, white, and blue. Well, Kayak Bass Nation did a thing where they put the popsicle. It looks like a dude's fishing out a popsicle. It looked like the native Slayer. So I just thought it was funny that how they did that. I think some people thought it was funny. Some might not have liked it too much. I don't know. But
some people don't.
Some people get really offended by it.
Stuff like that.
But yeah, it was funny. James, I was talking to James, he really likes that Slayer color. To be honest with you though, it's a brighter color. Like a lot of guys that have the camo colors, it can be kind of, if you're going in big lakes where it blends in with the background with the rocks and stuff, and people don't see you.
But if you got your Yak Attack flag up there.
That's right. You should have your Yak Attack Visi Pro, which you can find at OneObjectiveBF.com.
Yeah.
You like how I added that in there?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you got your Visi Pro, well, you should, that helps. But that flag is like this long, like that. So if somebody's far away running, you know what I mean? They might not see it right at first.
Maybe just bring back Hondo Orange.
They should. I don't know why they got rid of that color. That's just crazy. I had thought about that. I like that. What's it?
The yellow's nice. I like that one.
That's actually.
I remember I was talking if I was to get another one, I'd probably like to get the yellow one.
Yeah, I do like that color. I think that'd be a cool little.
I don't know what they call it. They call it something Venom or
Venom. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Venom. I wish I didn't keep it. Me or James didn't keep it. We were going to, and then we ended up just getting rid of it. Not too long ago. The Fusion, because that was our OneObjective colors. You know what I mean? I really liked having that color there. But let me text Brandon here real quick and see if we can get him on a little early. That way we can. But hey, before that, guys, let us know where you're listening from. We want to know, just kind of where you're listening from. What state and all that. So they had a couple.
It'd be a close one. It's either Top Gun or Venom.
I do like
the red one's nice too. I think I would rather have either the gray or the green. Yeah,
I do like the Venom. I do like it.
Jeff says Venom.
But I just sent Brandon a message. We'll see if we can get him on just a little early. We got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, gotta make a little small talk in between.
Yeah. But I'll have to edit that out on the podcast. It's like straight silence.
Yeah.
But we do got a few other tell you guys before we go into getting Brandon on. He's messaging me back now. We're working on a big project for this coming up week, so I want you guys to stay tuned on what we got coming out. We've had a lot of questions about a mount for this boat. Had a guy that wanted a mount made, so he brought it up to us to get it custom built. So, but it's going to be a product that we're going to be coming out with.
I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing the message come up on my phone.
Yeah. So we're gonna be having that coming out soon. It's gonna be a bow and stern mount coming out for it. I think we're gonna have them both done by this week. Well, designed. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's gonna be a pre-order deal. But I'm gonna tell you what, we put the okay. All right, but anyways, we're gonna call them at 9.
Okay.
But anyway,
it's only 9 minutes away.
Yeah. So we put the bow mount on the RS. Now I'm gonna tell you what, we had the battery up front.
The what?
You heard what I said. We had the battery up front, and it had a little too much nose weight when we did that.
Yeah.
So we had to move. We got to move everything to the back, and we're gonna do a full test video with it. But just going out, driving around, fishing, all that stuff. It is a pretty cool setup on that little boat. I think that's a perfect, because it's so quick. You can put it on and off, and it's just kind of like our rear mount we did for the RS. But That ain't shipped until the 28th. We ended up having to screw up and sending 2 of them out. It wasn't the bow mount, it was rear mounts.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know how they ended up getting shipped out. 2 guys were like, hey, man, I seen it was coming, and then we diverted it. We got it back. And I feel bad because they're thinking they're going to get their bow mounts. I'm like, no, it ain't shipping until Thursday. So the main problem is we have to do the pre-order stuff is just the hardware. It's so hard to get all the hardware right now.
Oh, really?
So when we come out with a product, we have to do pre-orders. We know what hardware we need. We have to order it, but we just want to make sure it's there before.
You're talking about like nuts and bolts and things?
Yeah, nuts and bolts, screws, stuff like that. I mean, you can go to Lowe's and get some of that stuff, but, man, you pay a fortune.
Y'all need an Imperial account.
Yeah. Well, we have talked about a bolt guy, but right now, the way we get them, we actually get them a little bit cheaper than we would if we had a contract with a company. You know what I mean? So
Kevin says he'd like to see a stern mount for the new canoe to accept your actuator mount assembly.
Stern. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have looked at possibly some new canoe stuff. I know they were doing a lot of mounts. That's why we didn't jump into the new canoe side.
Yeah.
We get a lot of stuff about the Old Town stuff, and we're working on a few things. We got some people we're talking to getting different boats and stuff like that, you know. But some of the questions we get, though, are people like, hey, man, can you make it for this boat or this boat? Well, we try to stay to the newer boats, whether it's a Sun Dolphin 2020 or whatever. But, you know, if you got like a 2017 or 16 or 15, it's hard because they change so much that if it's not a big demand for it, you can spend a lot of time and amount that you've only made one for. You know what I mean? And it ain't something we can just take some measurements and print out real quick. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. It's a lot.
It takes a little bit more work.
Yeah, it's a lot involved. And we plan on having a video out soon of like our day-to-day operations of the shop, you know, and how our shop works. And we just want people to know that it's only 2 of us, you know. I mean, some people just, and our kids, you know, like, it's
not a factory full of people.
No, not a factory full of people whatsoever. I mean, it really is just 2 of us, you know. And we added some humor to the video, you know, of each department and, you know, our engineer and our guy that runs the CNC and routers. And,
you just put a different hat on.
Different wigs, different hats.
Yeah, this is John over here in engineering.
So, but we did the video the first time, and somehow or another, when it got sent from our memory card to the file drive, all the sound was lost.
Oh wow!
So we got to reshoot that video.
Oh man!
Yeah, so that kind of sucks. But we got any questions? Anybody talking about where they're listening from? Anybody comment?
North Carolina, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's cold
Smith
there.
Mountain Lake, Virginia, Illinois, Northern Illinois.
Oh man, they've already gotten
North
snow.
Carolina. Yeah, it's snowing in some places. I don't know if it's any snow in Illinois or not.
I've been watching
Wisconsin, maybe.
Yeah, Wisconsin. I've been watching Millennial Farmer.
Yeah, it's been snowing up there in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's another YouTube channel y'all guys got. It's not fishing, it's farming. I like farming stuff.
Yeah.
So I follow the Millennial Farmer on there sometimes, and all the time I watch all his videos. But and it's been snowing like crazy up here. They went from like 60-degree day to 3-4 inches of snow.
Yeah.
You know, it was crazy. So, but
Kevin says your setup is awesome. Too bad I wasn't able to keep it, but it's going to a good home.
What's that?
It's what Kevin says your setup is awesome. Too bad I wasn't able to keep it, but it's going to a good home.
Oh, the boat. Yeah.
And Jillian says it's hunting season now.
Yeah, it is. My son is like, he is jonesing to go out hunting this year.
Oh.
And that's what I wanted to do because muzzleloader's coming up. And I wanted to go out and do that. What do we call that? The old smoke pole?
The old smoke pole.
The old smoke pole.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go out and do that. But the way my back's been jacked up, I can't get on no daggone tree. I can't even sit down on the ground, you know? So,
have to hunt from the 4-wheeler.
But
that ain't illegal though.
I think it is. I don't think you can sit on a vehicle. I don't know if it's considered like a vehicle, like a car.
I mean, it's not a motor vehicle. I wouldn't think so. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, really, you ain't supposed to drive it on the road, so it's not a legal vehicle.
No,
I don't know. I need to look that up. I can sit on a 4-wheeler.
How does somebody that's paralyzed, they can't walk? They got to have something. I mean,
a lot of them are in wheelchairs though.
Well, that's still a motorized vehicle.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. I need to look into that.
I don't think a 4-wheeler. I don't think a 4-wheeler
would count.
Because you're off road and you're not on the road. It's not a road vehicle.
Yeah, I just make a blind and just pull it right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I need to look that up. I don't know what the state law is on that in Virginia. But I'm trying to get Matthew. We're going to get him. I got to get him shooting the 243 I got for him. Well, it's been handed down to me. I'm handing it down to him and let him and shoot some deer. That's something we're going to be doing on our YouTube channel, too. We're going to be a little more outdoorsy besides just product and fishing. You know what I mean?
I'm assuming go-karts are done for the year?
Well, they did have a practice session this weekend, but it was supposed to be today, but that got rained out.
Yeah.
And I think we might have a couple more chances. So maybe here in the next 2 weeks, we can work out getting Matthew back on the track. So
might have to go to the Lyle Speedway.
Yeah, I need to cut that back in again.
Yeah.
Carter's Motor Speedway.
Okay.
That's what it was. Carter's Motor Speedway.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but so we'll get that done, guys. We're gonna have Brandon Pollinick here shortly. He was actually eating dinner. So we're gonna get him on here in just a little bit. We got anything coming through? Anybody else talking, Chris? What we got?
Jeff loves a new cup holder. Gary says it's 50s and 30s at night and where he's living. Crossbow. Jeff says he had snow here today. He's not happy about it. Sad face in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
What other things do you guys have brewing is what Dalton was asking.
Just a couple more boat product stuff. Just a different brand boat product stuff.
Yeah.
I can't say too much right now.
Yeah.
Because I will accidentally spill the beans and not mean to. You know what I mean?
Cam, I would have absolutely no clue what to talk about on your show. I appreciate the invite, but I would have absolutely no idea.
What's that?
What to talk about on your show.
Who said that?
Cam Steele. I guess he's talking to me.
Oh, okay. I got you. But yeah, so I mean, we got some things in the works, you know. We got several products that we want to release this year.
Yeah.
Just can't go. And a lot of them might not get released. I mean, you know, you always get an idea here and then it just gets kind of pushed to the side because of
Walton's
other things.
from Canton, Georgia.
Walton? Oh, yeah.
Walton Doyle.
Yep. I know Walton. I like Walton. He's a good guy. Bona fide team member. All that. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody that's commenting about the Cup Caddy. Hey, if you don't mind, if you got the Cup Caddy, take some pictures of it in action. You know what I mean? Yeah. Send it to us. We love
tag us.
Yeah, tag us in it. We want to see some pictures of them Cup Caddies. So, I mean, we sold the fire and things, man, and it's I'm really excited about it. And also, guys, if you got a dealer near you, that don't carry our products or whatever, ask them if they carry OneObjective, and if they don't, ask them if they can, because we're getting dealers on weekly. Yeah, so
1 minute we'll call Brandon.
Yeah, we'll call Brandon here in just a second, and then but guys, get some questions in here for Brandon. Like say, if you haven't, go follow his YouTube channel. I'm telling you, it's good. Kyle and them do a heck of a job on their stuff, and just I'm the behind the scenes kind of guy. I can go on Bassmasters and watch live clips of these guys, but I love that the fact they follow Brandon on every single tournament.
He does TikTok a lot too, right?
Yep. Yeah. He does TikTok a lot.
It's 9 o'clock.
All right, yeah, go ahead and call him, but go ahead and follow him on YouTube. Great content. Yeah. Hey, Brandon, we got you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know you're rushing, eating dinner.
Not a problem.
Yeah, our interview went shorter with Lee Levesey than we was expecting. So I was like, well, man, let's go ahead and call Brandon. But I didn't think about you eating dinner and all that stuff right this time because you're practicing, right? Or are you getting ready to start practice tomorrow?
Yeah, we got up here, drove up from Neely Henry today, and then I start practice bright and early in the morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a grind. You've been a grind for last 3-4 weeks now?
I'm going on week 6 straight.
Golly. Man, that's crazy. But, I mean, you got your big home away from home, and it kind of makes it a little bit easier. You ain't staying in hotel rooms all the time and all that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that definitely makes it a whole lot easier for us being able to just have some consistency on the road and being able to, I guess somewhat live a normal life.
Yeah. It's different, man. When I know just James, he's got a camper and we go fishing, and it's different when you're staying in your camper and compared to a hotel room, you know, because you're always worried about somebody stealing your stuff, or I mean, you still got that issues at some places, but it's not as bad as in a campground as it is like at a hotel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most of the time, I probably shouldn't even say this, but most of the time you don't even have to worry about covering your boat up or anything at a campground.
Yeah.
Because there's enough people around kind of watching out for your stuff. You're not just kind of, you know, usually you're kind of off the beaten path a little bit, where it's not easy for someone to just drive through and grab your stuff and run.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about your season, man. I was kind of going over everything, and I've been following you on, like I say, I talked about it last time you was on our show. I love your YouTube channel. I was telling everybody before you got you on here to go subscribe to your YouTube channel. You and Kyle, and y'all do a great job with that series, man. I love the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I mean, it's a lot of work. It looks like a lot of work just to get the footage you get, you know what I mean, for all the extra B-roll and all that, but y'all do a good job putting it together.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, actually. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And that's the whole reason, actually, that I hired Kyle, is because I was trying to do a lot of it myself, and it's just not possible. Like, I'm one of those people that I always want to just do it myself, but as I've gotten older, I've learned that I have to kind of delegate and manage things more so that I do have some time to at least even focus on fishing. And so hiring him, you know, does that, allows me to not worry about the film side of it and the editing side of it. And then it also allows us to be able to get some incredible shots that you just can't get without having someone in another boat on the water. And I actually just this morning went over our latest edit that the T. Cooper event that I won a couple weeks ago, and it's pretty awesome. I'll put it this way. I knew exactly what happened, and when I started watching day 4, I got chills and got choked up. and I already knew the outcome. Like, I was there. Yeah. I saw everything play out, and I still got choked up when I was watching it, because just the camaraderie between like me and Carl and stuff was really cool.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to. I mean, what's it like? Say, I know you guys are, you know, y'all are tight, you know, family, everything. Yeah. So, I mean, going head to head, I mean, that's something like, you know, me and my buddy, if we ever made deletes, I mean, that's something we would love to have, where it's us against, you know, each other. I mean, how was it at the campground talking to each other? Because you don't want to give no info. You know, you can't give no info. So, I mean, how is it when you're competing against one another like that?
Well, for me and Carl, it was just like everyday business. It just happened to be that we were 1-2. You know, during practice, me and Carl talk like 3 times a day on the water. And so we both knew exactly what we were doing. We both knew exactly where we were doing it. I mean, at least general location. We didn't know exactly what mat we were flipping, but we knew pretty good idea the general locations of where we were both fishing. And, you know, we had even just shared, like, if one of us doesn't make the last day, like, you know, here's a stretch I've been catching them on if you haven't been fishing it type deal. And, you know, we still ate dinner each night together. We went for a run after the first day, you know, went for like a 3-mile run together. So, I mean, for us, it just made it that much more special, right? There wasn't like this rivalry of, oh, I'm not going to talk to you because we're in first and second. Like, for us, it was like, this is the coolest thing ever, that we're battling each other for the win, because at the end of the day, it's a win-win, right? Like, obviously I want to beat him and he wants to beat me. Yeah. We're competitive and we wouldn't have it any other way. But to be able to, you know, especially when you come down to the final day, to be able to share that moment together. Like, I'm really glad one of us was leading and then the other one was able to like be in the hot seat, right? Like, I'm glad that I won, but if I wasn't going to win, like, I would have preferred to have either been in the hot seat when he came on stage or been leading and he was in the hot seat, and been the last one to weigh in, so that moment was the two of us.
Yeah. Now going behind stage, did y'all say much? Like, did he say, "Hey man, you got me"? I mean, did you know anything going into it? I mean, how did that line up?
The last day I didn't look at Bass Track. I didn't want to know. Like, I'm the kind of guy that on that final day, I want the emotion and everything to just be natural, right? And I want it to happen on stage. I don't want to know what's going to happen behind stage, but we're all fishermen. Like, you see each other's bags, right? Unless you're doing a drive-through weigh-in, then you don't know. But if we're all sitting in the tanks, like, you see a guy going from tank to tank and you're kind of eyeballing, looking around, measuring your, what you got. And everyone kind of talked there. And so I knew that I had a really good shot. But it's never official until it's on the scales.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool to watch. Since Bass Live, I just love their coverage they do, and been following you guys, and then just following you on Instagram and Facebook and all that, and just seeing this story build up. It was cool to watch it go down like it did.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing your other wins and they've all been great, but it's like this one was just really cool, to see. Like, say, you're going up against one of your friends, and it's just really cool to see it go down. But let's talk a little bit about your year. I know you've had some up and downs, and you've had 2 wins this year. I mean, it seems like this year's been a stingy year for a lot of guys bass fishing, and we was talking to Lee about it, and I said, what's been different about 2020? I mean, you got guys, that have been really consistent and getting good top 10s all the time, but for most, you can look at a lot of the guys' season, and it's just up and down, and I ain't talking like, 15th to 20th. I'm talking like 1st to 50th and stuff like that. I mean, do you think the pressure from where everybody was out fishing this year because of COVID that kind of hurt some of the lakes this year, or do you just think it's just the angler's luck? I mean, their time.
From what I've seen, not every body of water we've been to, but a lot of the more popular ones, you can tell it's made a difference. Just the pressure. And that's kind of scary to think about, right? Like, just 1 year of that many more people fishing already educated the fish that much where they've adapted to it. We saw it on places like St. Clair. It wasn't just smallmouth fisheries, like even Lake Ontario and St. Clair, like massive bodies of water that are essentially just open, giant lakes where those fish can roam, and you still saw it there where those fish were way more skittish, way more boat shy than they have been in the past, and that definitely has an effect, on anglers' performances. And then you talk about places like Lake Chickamauga that we were just at, and it's definitely had a huge effect, and it's continuing to, because there's still a ton of pressure on it. I mean, until hunting season gets into full swing, like, there's going to be a lot of people out there. And I think the other thing that happened is a lot of tournaments got pushed into the fall. And so there's a lot of, like, competing events on the same weekends on a lot of the same bodies of water.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something else, because like when you guys were at Gunnersville and all that, was the whole, the kayaking thing. We love kayaking. We do kayaking as well. That's what a lot of our show is kayak fishing. But, but like when you guys were down at Gunnersville and all that, and you had, a lot of guys were in there practicing for the big KBF National Championship event. And I mean, do you see a lot more of that too when you go to these other events? A lot more kayakers on these big bodies of waters than you normally see?
Oh, we don't run into it that much. I mean, you can definitely tell that it's growing at a pretty rapid rate, because you're not seeing dudes with just like a kayak and one rod.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell when it's a guy that fishes serious out of a kayak because he's got pretty much the exact same setup we do, just smashed down into a smaller package. But you can tell they've got electronics and they got rods stashed everywhere and tackle. You can tell when they're outfitted.
Yeah.
And that's cool to see. Like, if I had the time, I would fish kayak tournaments if it worked out in my schedule, just because I think it gives you such a different perspective on a body of water to learn from, that you would be able to then apply that, when you're fishing out of a bass boat, like knowing, it forces you to slow down and look at a body of water different. And when you get that new perspective, it can only help, really.
Yeah. And for us, I come from bass boat tournaments and just kind of fell in love with the format of the kayaking side, and then started fishing some of these month-long events. And some of the water that I used to fish, where I used to put in at it and I'd take off, I start putting in and fishing in the kayak side. And I've learned that so much. I'm like, man, there's so much fish here. Why did I ever leave it? You really learn how to break down stuff a lot better. And I think me switching over to the kayaking side has made me a better angler. And, I always tell people, I'm like, man, I think everybody should start out in a kayak now. Like, even before you go to the bass boat, it's just crazy how much better you get or learn how to break down a body of water.
But yeah, that, and it's a much more cost-effective way to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going there and spending as much money. Like, you go out there and, kayaks, they're not cheap, but it's a lot less expensive than going and buying a full 20 or 21 footer. And you're able to go out there and still learn about, changing conditions, and that's what I tell people all the time. Like, if you want to make it to the top level, you just need to spend time on the water. Even if it's from the bank, you're going to learn from those different scenarios, whatever Mother Nature throws at you, different water conditions, different times of year. Like, all of that stuff is things that you put into your memory bank that's going to help out some point down the road.
Yeah, for sure. That's always been a key topic on our show, is time on the water. You cannot beat time on the water, and you never will. There's guys that I see start out fishing here in the last, 3 or 4 years, and they fish a whole lot more than me, and I can see like how they've gotten better, and they're one of the ones it's hard to beat a lot of times on the water now because they're on the water all the time. So, time on the water is key, always is. So, but let's talk going down, and man, I was looking at your stats, and like I say, I know the St. Lawrence, I'm sorry. Yeah. Getting down to Kissimmee, Florida, and the Open there, and I know you had a tough event there. What is it about Florida that you struggle with? Is it just the time that y'all hit it, or is it like you just? Because I have lakes too. Like, you hit certain bodies of water, I can't figure it out.
I think what I've broken it down to is really two things. One, generally the lack of contours in Florida. So when we go to like the St. Johns River, I can apply some of the ways that I like to fish and have decent finishes there. But when we go to, those places like Okeechobee, Kissimmee, Harris Chain, like, I like the style of fishing. It's pretty much what I did at C&T, right? Like, I love to punch. I love throwing a chatterbait. Like, those are some of my favorite ways to catch fish. But like, the lack of contours is one of like figuring out how those fish move and transition. The other problem is that I absolutely despise fishing around large groups of people. And generally early in the year in Florida, you just have to do that. And it's really hard for me to just get in an area with a bunch of boats and just mill around, because there's so much dead water down there, right? Like, there'll be one corner of the lake that's really firing, and the rest of the lake's like, oh, I can kind of catch a bass here and there maybe, but you just can't compete very well. Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest downfall for me, is like, I'll know where there's fish and I'll drive and there'll be a bunch of boats. And instead of just shutting down and milling around in there with all the other boats, I just turn and drive the opposite direction. I'm like, I'll go try to get 5 bites over here rather than getting 20 bites over there.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of spins you out a little bit. I know just going to Potomac River, a couple of times I've been there, it's the same way. I'm always like, oh man, look at all the boats over there. But there's a reason, they're probably catching pretty good over, and I won't go. Yeah. And that's something you got to learn about that Potomac River up there is the same way when you fish BFLs, and it's like you just need to go in there with them and fish and try to catch them. But yeah, I was just curious. I was just wondering, because I've been following you for many years now, and like I said, I know you talk about it in your videos how it's just like the Kissimmee, the Florida chain, all that. It's just always a tough event for you, and I never knew what it was,
Yeah, I'm going to win a tournament in Florida, though. Like, that's my next goal. I'm just going to go ahead and just kick that one to the curb and be like, yep, I'm going to win a derby down in Florida. I don't care if it's an open or a lead or what, but I'm going to win one down there.
I hope you do, man. I really do. And, let's kind of move north here. You're going up north there. And what is it about them northern lakes that, man, you are just dynamite on? Smallmouth heaven, I know a lot of guys catch big smallmouth there, but you always figure something out with it it's just phenomenal to watch you go up there and catch them.
I think that's probably like one of the other things, kind of almost the same thing, but the opposite of what we talked about in Florida. Like generally deeper, clearer lakes, lots of contours. I'm able to look at my Lakemaster charts and go, okay, this is what these smallmouth are hanging on. And then the other part of it is smallmouth just act differently than what largemouth do or what spotted bass do. And I've just spent more time doing it. I grew up fishing a lot of largemouth and smallmouth, where a lot of the guys in the South just haven't fished that clear water. And it's different. Like, you have to adjust to it. And once you kind of figure out how the mouth migrate and move, it's not that tricky. But figuring that out and being able to find them consistently is the tricky part, because they always are wanting to move and roam around. And it's just something I feel comfortable with, right? And they're usually on big bodies of water where you can spread out, and I can just drive my boat as far as I want to get away from people and find a group of fish that's, somewhat untouched.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always like, and I don't know if it's just the camera angles or what, but it's always like you guys are in the middle of nowhere, and catching these fish. And I'm like, man, how do you even find some of these spots up there? Like the lake is so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times it looks like we're out in the middle of nowhere, but there's definitely a reason for it, right? And it's generally based on contours and, some type of structure on the bottom, usually rock for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other videos I watched for years, the water's just so clear. You can see the drop off so easy and the ledges and all that. And it was just pretty cool to watch. That's one of my bucket list.
Yeah.
Those lakes are on my bucket list to get up there and fish sometime for sure. But kind of getting into, I was looking, you're on the cut line. Well, you're not on the line, but you're close to the cut line for qualifying for the Bassmasters Classic. I know last year, where you was with the other tour, you weren't able to fish it. And what was it like going there and working the expo and all that and not out there fishing? I know that's different for you because, you're normally in those classics.
Yeah, it was like the most amazing, terrible 3 days of my life. It's, and what I mean by that is it's awesome because you get to see the other side of it and appreciate what that event is and appreciate when you are competing in it. And it gives you the opportunity in those 3 days to meet all of those fans that you wouldn't generally have the opportunity to meet.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think is really cool about this sport is that we do have that. And so I got to meet a ton of amazing people in Birmingham. But the other part of it is that like you want to compete in that event. Like as a professional angler, that's the pinnacle of the sport. And that's one title that I still don't have. And so when you're just sitting there watching it, and it's tough, but at the same time, I knew that was a decision that I made and I had to live with it. And so I just enjoyed the week as much as I could. Obviously it's hard, but I don't like, if people have never seen a classic weigh-in, you have to go. Like it should be on everybody's bucket list. If you even just somewhat think you might like fishing, or even if you know somebody that likes fishing, you should go to a classic, because when someone wins that event, it is such a just special moment.
Oh yeah. It's crazy to hear the whole crowd erupt, for the guy, because like in sports, you got your teams that you pull for and people are booing and cheering or whatever. But in bass fishing, it don't matter who wins. Everybody's cheering, and it's a special feeling, man. It's different. And then, when them guys come back behind stage after they win and how everybody's so excited for them, that's one thing that's awesome about fishing is it's so close knit, and especially with you guys and what you fish, y'all are family, everything's close knit family. So, it is really, really cool to see. Now going into the 2021 Bassmasters Classic and all this COVID stuff and all that. I mean, do you think that they're going to allow, I know you don't know this, but do you think they're going to allow more people in there and do the expo, or how do you think it's going to be this year or next year?
I know they want to.
Yeah.
The problem is that a lot of that is out of their control.
Mm-hmm.
Bass, I know from what they have done this year dealing with it, the fact that they pulled off us having our entire full season is incredible. So I know that they will do everything in their power to make it happen and make the classic run as smoothly and as normal as possible. But like I said, a lot of that's out of their control. They can't make all those decisions. They work closely with the local chambers and all of that, but this is something that can even go above and beyond that, right? It can be the state of Texas. It can be federal. Like seems like it changes every week. And so I don't think there's something you can say right now, like, oh yeah, if this happens, then we're good.
Yeah.
It just, because it could change the next week.
Oh, yeah, so many unknowns with it, even with the expo and so many people in there, and I'm like, man, I hope they have it, but in the same side, you're like, dang, that is a lot of people that go through there, and them expos, man, people are shoulder to shoulder rolling through there, so, but like I say, hopefully all this stuff, election year's here, and it might just die and go away all of a sudden, I don't know, you know what I mean, but, but, hopefully everything still goes back to normal next year and the season kicks back off and everything's normal back to the way hopefully it should be. So, but I mean, looking into that event,
I agree.
You have some good finishes in Texas. Are you really looking forward to that? I mean, everybody looks forward to the Classic, but I mean, that lake itself, are you really looking forward to fishing that?
Yeah, I am. I haven't been there other than one time for the TTBC, and that was kind of like a late summer fall event. And so I would love to go see that place in the spring.
Yeah.
I mean, generally Texas lakes that time of year can fire off and be incredible. And there's some really big fish in that lake. It's not a huge lake, but it's pretty diverse from what I remember. And, those are the kind of places I like to fish. Generally, if you have that, there's something there that you can find that's maybe off the wall just a little bit from what most people do on that body of water. And those are the kind of places I like to look for.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was wondering, because I know you're pretty diverse in Texas, and you've had some good events down there on other bodies of water. So, but Chris, you said we got a question?
Yeah, Brad wants to know how do you deal with major fishing pressure during 3 and 4 day tournaments?
Well, it can be tricky, and every event is different depending on the body of water. The biggest thing is managing your fish. If you've got a lot of people following you, sometimes you may not fish everything you have. If you're able to catch enough weight to compete, like during that day, you may not go fish everything you've got just so that you're not showing it or giving it up. And that's just part of the strategy you have to play. Most times it's not that bad. But there are certain bodies of water, a lot of the TVA chain seems to be more popular than most places we go. And that's where you see it. Chickamauga, the hardest thing is there were so many boats on the water that you would run 15 miles to go fish a place because the fish weren't biting everywhere. And so you may have one place that's 20 miles upriver, one place that's 15 miles downriver, and you'd run all the way there and there'd be 2 local boats sitting on it. And, sometimes you could roll in and ask them like, hey, do you care if I fish in here? A lot of times I just turn and just leave, and go to another spot. Cause if they've been sitting there pounding on them, odds are you're probably not going to get a big one.
Yeah.
They're too smart. They know the boats are there. And so, a lot of times it's not even the pressure of people catching fish. It's just the amount of boats on the water. And I'm a firm believer that the fish can sense that, right? If there's just trolling motors buzzing over their head all the time, like you think about like how far away we can hear a bass boat running, and when it's a bass boat. And if you've been on the water enough, you can pretty much name exactly what motor it is that's driving down the lake. And I believe the fish, they learn that all night. It's real quiet and there's like nothing going on, and then all of a sudden the sun starts to come up and there's boats driving everywhere. So that's one thing that I think would be super interesting to spend more time in a kayak to see how much of a difference that makes. Because I know at Santee Cooper, like one thing that me and Carl talked about all the time was turning everything off. Like we would put all of our graphs in standby, like have nothing on. Like I would run the hydrowave a little bit because I think it just helps cover up some of that unnatural noise. But like all the sonar pinging, like turning that all off when we were fishing the mats, just because it felt like you had to be so stealthy to get those big ones to bite.
Yeah. And I got a moth flying there. I can relate to that because I know like when the shad spawn's on at some Fountain Lake and we go out at nighttime and you get up on the bank and I'll take the kayak and I actually use my paddle and just kind of push down and make casts, push down. And that's what I do. I cut all the electronics off because it's like if you got any electronics on, you get right up on the bank, it's like they kind of go away. Like you don't hear them busting like they were, So I cut everything off and you notice a big difference. I mean, it gets so bad. Sometimes I can hear or feel like the fish rushing in on shad and hitting the bottom of the boat. You're like, boom. You're like, good gosh, what was that? And stripers will do it, and it's crazy. And you can, sometimes I got a couple of guys, we'll go down the bank and you can take your flashlight and shine down and see largemouth sitting there and then go down and come back around and hit them, because they don't leave. It's like you don't spook them that bad with the kayak, but the bass boat, you're hitting rocks with the trolling motor and you can really, it still works. You still catch them that way, but electronics is key. I don't think all you gotta do is get in the water and swim under your boat and you can hear that thing ticking and pinging and fish are a whole lot more sensitive than we are to hear it,
Yep. And that's why I think that, like this year having a lot more pressure on bodies of water, you see those fish getting more boat shy, where you go to a body of water where you used to be able to just drive over top of them and drop on them right away, where now it's like you drive over them and you drop and the fish just leaves.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's really the only thing that I can think of that would cause that. I mean, obviously, sometimes you go to bodies of water and the fish are just in funky moods, but you can definitely tell that when you get closer with a boat, it affects them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Chris, we got any more questions before we go to one more segment here with Brandon?
No.
Nothing coming up? Okay. I see.
Oh, wait. I have one right here. Brad was recently at Chickamauga and wants to know exactly what you said about cutting the sonar off. And oh, that's not a question. I'm sorry.
I'm reading it wrong.
I'm reading it wrong. I'm sorry.
Anyways, going to go into one more segment with you here, and I got one more question after this short question. Going into fall, let's say mid eastern side of United States here. We're going into fall. What is your top 3 baits that you love to throw on? Let's say it's just like a regular reservoir, like Smith Mountain Lake, or I know y'all just come off Chickamauga and Neely Henry and all that. But what is your go-to top 3 baits when we get in a good fall transition?
Gosh, man, there's so many different bodies of water. I think one thing that I always have tied on would be a Storm Arashi top walker, big walking bait. I like to throw the number 13 usually. I did go down to the number 11 at Chickamauga because it seemed like they were keyed in on real small bait. But that's by far my favorite topwater bait to throw. And in fall, it can be one of the best topwater seasons. You know, a lot of the places this time of year right now are still a little bit warm, especially if you're south of the Mason-Dixon. But it's like 80 one day and then it's 35 the next. But not until we get down in those kind of mid 60 temps will it really start to turn on. And then I would say probably like a Rapala BX Brat in the number 6 is a crankbait that I love to throw. It's got a little bit tighter wobble, and it's a bait that I can cover a lot of water with. I can burn and fish it down riprap banks, down laydowns, you know, just fishy looking stuff, because these fish in the fall, they're transitioning. A lot of them are moving, you know, through those channel swings and things like that back to the flats. So it's a great way to catch those fish. And then the other one would probably have to be, man, torn.
It's junk fishing season.
It is junk fishing. I mean, like, I've literally had 35 rods rigged up in my boat, and like the same 35 for the last 6 weeks, because at any one point I could pull one of those out and catch a bass on it.
Yeah.
And I think the other one I've probably thrown a lot would be like the X Zone, either the Adrenaline Bug or the Muscleback Finesse Craw on, just a standard Texas rig with a VMC heavy duty flipping hook, and anywhere from a quarter all the way up to an ounce and a half, depending on what type of cover you're fishing around.
Yeah. Chris, you say we got a question?
Yeah. How do you approach deep cranking? Do you go with contour lines on points, or do you find offshore rock piles, brushes, etc.?
All of the above. With deep cranking, it's all about just, you don't have to find the fish on your electronics, but it is always about finding some type of structure for those fish to hold on. I'll use bull shoals as an example, because that was probably one of the best offshore crankbait bites I've ever been on when I won there in 2012. And I was catching them on pretty much everything that he asked about in that, in that question. I was catching some fish out of brush piles. I was catching some on roadbeds, some on old rock piles, some on old like house foundations. And then some of them were just on like kind of hard gravelly points that would have just a little bit bigger rock and then a steep drop nearby that those fish could transition up and down. So you just got to think of the fact that bass are generally ambush feeders. So they like to get next to something and then come out and eat whatever swims by and then go back into that cover. And so, you have to kind of look for all those things. And most of the time there'll be one that's better than the others. Some lakes, at certain times of year, you'll go and the fish are really in the brush piles, or, they'll just be on kind of those long tapering points. And so when I'm practicing, I try to pay attention to that, like where I'm getting my bites and where I'm seeing the most fish.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Last thing I want to cover with you, Brandon, I know bass season's going into the fall. You guys love to hunt. I mean, how's that? Do you still have will you still have a lot of time hunting season going into the winter here, or how is that messing up your hunting season?
It's been a mental struggle for me all the way since September when the elk started bugling. I will say this: $100,000 from Santee Cooper definitely made it a lot easier to swallow.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like hunting is two things. One, it puts pretty much all of the meat in our freezer that we use for the year. That was actually part of the reason that I started traveling with a camper, is just because I wanted to be able to fill a freezer full of elk meat and live off of that on the road.
Yeah.
I love to be as self-sustaining as possible without a grocery store. And that was, one step closer to being able to do that. And the other thing is it's a mental thing for me. I'm around people all the time, all year long, and I love that. But at the same time, I love to get out in the woods by myself in the middle of nowhere, where I have no cell service, no technology, and you're just out there. And it brings you back to kind of like the basic human things that we need. Puts a lot of things in perspective for me. And I think that's the most important thing that I get out of hunting. That's why for me, I enjoy like the adventure backcountry hunting the most, because I like to get out and get away.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I see, a lot of guys, that's big, just seeing the comments. I know, like Gerald Swindle, for instance, I mean, he very big deer hunter, and this is cutting into his hunting season as well. And, I'm just like, man. But I mean, like say, this is your guy's job, and like say $100,000 makes it a little bit easier. But I get that too. Like say you're putting food on your table.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, you can't really complain about fishing either.
Yeah.
We fish for a living, so you can't complain about that.
Yeah.
But it's just completely different, being on the water or technology, right? We've got all our electronics, motors, all that. But there's just something special about being out in the mountains away from everything. And sometimes I just sit there and think, like, in September, like that's what I'm most bummed out about, is I missed archery season in September. I don't get to take a nap under a like big shaded pine tree somewhere. Like September elk archery hunting and naps are like peanut butter and jelly. Like nice hot day, the elk are sleeping in the middle of the day. You just find a nice shady tree. It's about 75 degrees. Just curl up, take a little nap.
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. I can relate to that, man. I fully get it.
Yeah.
But, Chris, we got any more questions for Brandon before we let him go, man?
No.
Brandon, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's...
Oh, wait.
Oh, we got something?
Yeah, just popped up. Quick question: did you concentrate on Marion or Moultrie when it's Santee?
I concentrated on Marion, I believe, on the big lake, the North Lake. And most of my time was spent north of the 95 bridge.
Nice. I love that body. I've drove over that body of water so many times, never been to fish it. I want to. I love watching, like when you guys go down there fishing, I just love watching people just fish in that lake. It's just a fisherman's paradise. Yeah. So, but Brandon, I ain't going to keep you much longer. I know you're going to start practice tomorrow. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, man. And congratulations to you on your 2 wins this year. And best of luck to you the rest of this year. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on, and look forward to talking to you guys soon.
All right, Brandon, you have a good one, man. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
See ya. All right, I believe that's like the 3rd time we've had Brandon on, and I always enjoy talking to Brandon.
Oh yeah.
When you go to the Classic and just have a chance to sit down and talk with him, he's the same way as he is. Like you see, I mean, he's just a cool, collective kind of dude. You know what I mean? Like he just loves life. Like,
oh yeah.
But I tell you what, if y'all need to go read an article that he did on Wired to Fish, we shared it. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, one of the two. Go on OneObjective on our Facebook page and go down, and we shared a article from Wired to Fish that Brandon Pollinick did, and it was like, I can't remember what the title was. It was like 5 things to being a pro. 5 key things of being a pro, and was talking about, but one of them was, talking about pretty much being selfish and thinking about yourself all the time because, you're turning down parties, you're turning down hanging out with friends, you turn down this just so you can practice or get tackle ready to go fish an event. But it was a lot of things like that, though. You know what I mean? And, you need to go – if you have interest in wanting to become a professional fisherman, whether it's kayaking, if you can, make a living doing it that way, or bass boats or whatever. And that can apply to so many other things besides just fishing, that article. And it was – whether it come to racing or whatever. It's just a really good read. So I'd encourage you to take the time, go on OneObjective Facebook page, or go to Wired to Fish, scroll down, and Brandon Pollinick did an article on that, and just really good stuff. But other than that, guys, we don't have no contest tonight. We are working on something. We will have a Christmas contest coming up. Not sure how we're going to do it on Facebook, how we're going to do it on YouTube. We've been doing it on Facebook the last couple of times with the show.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be doing trivia questions and stuff. So I'm going to come up with something different this year. We've given away several rods from Falcon, a lot of tackle. Maybe we'll have a special guest in. I don't know. We need to get Ron down here or something. We need to get Ron in the studio.
Ron down here. He's never been down here.
Yeah, no, he's never been down here. So, or get James in here on that show or something. We need to get somebody down here. So, but that'll be coming up in December. I'm starting to get in contact with some people and get some stuff to give away, and looking forward to doing that. But guys, please go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, OneObjective, and subscribe to that. We got a lot more content coming. We got a big build that we're going to be doing. James is going to be doing. Looking forward to getting that out, getting that started. And we got several other videos coming. But guys, also please, if you like this show tonight, please share it with your friends. I like getting the show out there and getting these guys the attention, and like I say, just with some of their sponsors, it just helps them out, So just share it if you don't mind, guys. But I appreciate y'all taking the time to join us tonight. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. And thank you everybody that has was in the messenger today. Did I say that right? Yeah, in the messenger box today.
Yeah.
And just join us in the show, guys. But other than that, guys, we'll talk to you later. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.